French for Henri de Montpellier back in 1967. Men til venstre har vi så Holmens Kirke, hvor dronning Margrethe blev gift med prins Henrik tilbage i 1967. Now here to the right, we used to have this beautiful old stock exchange built in the 1600s by one of our famous kings, Christian IV. But during renovations just a few months ago, it caught fire. So it's really, really sad. Yeah. It used to have this lovely spire at the top with these four intertwined dragon tails, which was there to protect the building, because they believed back in the 1600s that if they had that on top of the house, it would prevent it from burning down. Well, it did for many centuries, but just not when it was renovated. So now it'll be another 20 years until you have to come back and have a look at it when it's finished. Herinde til højre har vi jo så Børsen, som blev bygget af Christian IV tilbage i starten af 1600-tallet, og den blev renoveret indtil for et par måneder siden, hvor den så desværre halvvis brændte ned. Tak. Oh, I see all these hands up and fingers. Well, I actually forgot to say this morning that it's not permitted to touch the bridges for your own safety. We actually did have a guy once who lost a finger that way. So yeah, it's pretty serious. There was blood everywhere, so it was very dramatic. I do not recommend that. Now here to your left, this is our national bank. It was designed by a Danish architect, Arne Jacobsen. Now you might know that although Denmark, we are a member of the EU, we do not have the euro because we voted against having that many years ago. So actually we don't produce our own money. The Danish krone is produced both in France and in Finland, so it's just the office building today. And then we have a very popular bar here, Kayak Bar, which is popular not only for its drinks, but also that you can actually go sailing your own tour for free. So you could spend all the money and not come with us here today. But the only trick is that you then have to collect waste here in the harbour. So we are now out in the inner harbour, and if you look here to the right, we have these three cut and close buildings. This is our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, built in a warehouse architectural style. That's on purpose, so it will blend in with the old warehouses along the waterfront. Herovre til højre har vi vores udenrigsministerium. Jeg synes, det ser en anelse kedeligt og tillukket ud, så fordi det faktisk er bygget i pakhuslignende stil, helt bevidst, så det passer ind med de lidt ældre pakhus, såsom Ejlets pakhus herovre til højre. Now, this beautiful morning, you might actually be tempted to go and swim later on today. We have several very nice beaches outside of the city. But you don't have to go that far. You can actually just jump into the harbour here. It's very, very popular year-round to go and have a daily dip here in the inner harbour. We have several harbour pools where there's free access, especially in the area behind us. But we also have a tiny one coming up over here to the left. So all you need to bring is maybe a swimsuit and a towel and ready to jump in. Unless you want to jump in like Adam and Eve, you know, that is also an option. I know many people do that. Sådan en dag som i dag, når man er her i København, eller det er sådan en fin sommerdag, så får man måske lyst til at tage en tur til strand, især her i eftermiddag. Men vi behøver faktisk ikke tage så langt, fordi vi har jo adskillige havnebade her i Inderhavn. Og der er gratis adgang til alle, og det største af dem er hernede i området bag os, men vi har faktisk også en lille bitte en lige heroppe til venstre. Så man skal bare huske måske at tage noget badetøj med, og et håndklæde, så man er jo klar til at hoppe i. This green building here to your left, this is the old customs house, and this is where the boats in the old days had to stop and pay customs when they arrived in Copenhagen. Then in the year 2000 it was, no, that's not true, that's wrong. Right up until the 2000, it was also a ferry terminal where we would all catch the ferry if we wanted to go to Malmö in Sweden, shopping for the day. But then in the year 2000, the Öresundsbridge opened, and then we all preferred to go by car or train instead. And now it's just some nice restaurant and club for members only. Here in front of us we have the Inner Harbour Bridge, also known as the Kissing Bridge, not because we necessarily stop and kiss when we cycle or walk across, but rather because when it opens and closes, it sort of comes together like in a kiss. Lige om lidt så sejler vi under Inderhavnsbroen her fremme, og det er jo ikke fordi vi er nødvendigt, som vi også kalder kysserbroen, og det er jo ikke fordi vi nødvendigvis stopper og kysser, når vi cykler og går over, men faktisk har noget at gøre med, at når den åbner og lukker, kommer den sammen, som ligesom når man kysser. Now it is actually a must that all our guests sailing with us, that when we go under this kissing bridge, that everyone must give each other a little kiss or hug, and you're very welcome to do so too. Det er blevet faktisk lidt af et must, når vi sejler over kyssebroen, at man lige giver hinanden et lille kys eller kram. And now if you look down to the left, you have this lovely view down to Nyhavn with all the lovely colourful houses, which is one of our top highlights here in Copenhagen. Also because of all the nice bars and restaurants. So if you haven't been there yet, make sure to put it on your bucket list. Lige hernede til venstre har vi jo så Nyhavn, som også er rigtig, rigtig kendt her i København. Og det er jo her, man tager hen, hvis man gerne vil have noget rigtig godt smørbrød og bare nyde solen. Here to your left, this modern building is our Playhouse Theatre that opened in 2008. It's a very sustainable building, and they actually use the water from the harbour here to cool it down inside on a hot summer day. And if you go in there as a guest in the winter time, you'll be helping to warm it up, because then they'll be using your body heat along with the heat from the lamps in there to warm up, and thereby they have a reduction of 40% on their energy bills. Her til venstre har vi så skuespilhuset, som åbnede i 2008. Det er jo meget bæredygtigt byggeri, ved at de faktisk anvender vandet fra havnen her til at køle ned indenfor på en varm sommerdag, som i dag. Når vi skal gå derind som gæster i vinterhalvåret, så lige hjælpe med til at varme det op, og så vil de bruge jeres kropsvarme sammen med varmen fra lamperne til at varme op, og derved har de en besparelse på hele 40% på deres energiforbrug. In front of us there we have another modern building. This is our opera. It consists of 14 stories, and the 5 of them are below water level. That's where they have their changing rooms and offices. Lige her fremme har vi så vores opera, som åbnede i 2005. Det var en gave fra F. Møller Mærsk Familiefonden. Selve bygningen består af 14 etager, hvor de 5 er under vand. Og det er så dernede, de har deres omklædningsrum og kontor. We're now taking you into an area called Holmen, which consists of 5 artificial islands that used to belong to the Danish Navy and is now transforming into both residential area, and we reuse many of the old buildings for offices. Also we have the School of Music, School of Architecture, all in this area. Nu er vi så på vej ind i Holmens område, som består af 5 kunstige øer, som tidligere tilhørte den danske flåde. Og det er i dag ved at ændre sig til både bolig- og erhvervsområde, og blevet lidt et trendy område at flytte hen i. We are approaching a very low bridge, so please stay seated. Vi vil vælge siden, hvis vi sætter under den første bro her. Now once we come under the bridge, I'll be quiet until we get to the end of this canal, because we do not want to disturb the neighbors here. Når vi kommer under broen, så tiger lige stille, indtil vi når ned for enden og rundt om hjørnet, fordi vi guider ikke her hensyn til naboerne. Tak. Please sit down. Thank you. Tak. This funny looking building on the corner here is called the Torpedo Hall, and that's because it was originally used for both repairing and building torpedo boats in the old days. Today converted into some exclusive accommodation. Det er lidt sjovt udseende bygning lige hernede på hjørnet, der hedder Torpedohallen, og det er fordi man i gamle dage på bygget her både bygget og repareret torpedobåde, og i dag omdannet til eksklusiv privatbåd. Do we have anyone from the UK on board? A few. Oh, hey, great. Well, it's actually all thanks to your ancestors that we got these black gunboat sheds, as they're called, because back in 1807 the British came here to Copenhagen and bombed Copenhagen, so thank you very much for that. And they also stole all our warships, so once again, thank you very much. Oops. So that's why we had these gunboat sheds built, so we could hide away little boats with guns on board in case they would come back and attack us once again. Fortunately, they did not come back, at least not on friendly terms, and no hard feelings anymore. It's okay. It's nice to see you guys.
Be careful getting off the boat.
Today they're all listed. They cannot exchange the exterior, but you see the interior can be changed to now converted into offices. Så de her sorte huse her tilbage, så det hedder de kanonbådsskurene, og de er tilbage fra starten af 1800-tallet, hvor englænderne kom her til København og bombede os i 1807, fordi de troede, vi samarbejdede med Napoleon dengang. Det gjorde vi så ikke. Vi var egentlig bare neutrale og udnyttede situationen, mens alle andre var i krig. Det er det godt Now here on your right, behind these trees is where we have the free town of Christiania, which you might have heard of. It's an area that used to belong to the Danish army, but then in the early 1970s, the whole area was squattered illegally by the so-called hippies. And they lived there illegally for many years. They didn't pay any bills, any water supply, electricity or anything, but that has all changed today. Now actually own part of the land, and now even have their own little kindergarten in the area and some cafes and restaurants. So if you haven't been there before, I recommend go and have a look at it because it's so much different from the rest of Copenhagen. Og herovre bag træerne på højre side, har vi jo så Christiania, som jo er et område, som blev indtaget af hippierne tilbage i starten af 70'erne. Bestemt et besøg værd, hvis ikke man har været der før. We are now approaching a bridge. Just a reminder, staying seated. Going into a walk, side. And once we come under the bridge, have a look to your left, because we have the smallest hotel in Copenhagen. It's only got one room. It's called Copenhagen Boat. It's that little wooden house you see there. So you might want to stay there next time. But just beware the booking list is extremely long. Tak. Ferry here called Faro, you see, and used to sail to that little island of Faro just south of Zealand, which is also known here as our Apple Island, because it's where we have the largest produce of apples here in Denmark. It's becoming very popular, not just like here, to buy up these old ferries and live here in the harbour area. Så har vi Faro, kommer lige her til venstre. som jo tidligere har sejlet til øen Fejø syd for Sjælland. Det er blevet meget populært at opkøbe disse færger og så omdanne dem til privatboliger. Right is also part of these 5 artificial islands, Holmen. But that area over there is today more or less an open museum. So you see up on land there's this tiny submarine, it's called the Seal, and it was active during the Iraq War in 2003. Today it's open here in the summertime. So you probably don't want to suffer too much from claustrophobia because it's really tiny inside. Just to go and visit. Området herovre til højre, det er også del af Holmen, de 5 grundstykker. Den her del er mere eller mindre et åbent museum i dag. Oppe på landet ligger ubåden Sælen, og den var aktiv i Danmark, because back in 1982 it was out on a training mission off the coast of Northern Zealand, that's north of this island, and all of a sudden by mistake a real true missile went off and thereby destroyed 4 holiday homes and also more or less destroyed 130 other houses in the area. Now, fortunately, no one was home on that day, so there were no interesting people, but ever since then, this ship is known as the Basic Missile here in Denmark. Herovre til højre har vi så fregat, der hedder Skram, som jo nærmest blev verdensberømt tilbage i 1982, i forbindelse med, var ude på en træningsøvelse op ved Lågsås i Nordsjælland. Fordi lige pludselig røg der et ægte missil afsted, og derved destruerede 4 sommerhuse i området, og også mere eller mindre nedlagde 130 andre huse i området. Heldigvis var der ikke nogen hjem den dag, så skete jo ingen personskade, men lige siden da er det jo kendt som Hovsa-missilet. Det er jo måske nogle danskere, der godt kan huske, eller måske har hørt historien om. Now we have a little special treat for you here today because this is our royal yacht coming up here, which is owned and used by our royal family when they travel around Denmark here in the summertime, and also when they travel to the Faroe Islands and to Greenland. It's actually the oldest royal yacht in the world, 93 years old, so it's an elderly lady keeping up quite well. And she's not always moored here, so you're very lucky to get to see it. Så har vi så kongeskibet Dannebro, som jo ikke altid ligger til her. Det vil jo benytte af kongefamilien, når de sejler omkring Danmark på deres sommertogter, og også når de tager til Færøerne og til Grønland. Og det er jo det ældste kongeskib i verden. 93 år er skibet, så det er et ældre dage, som holder sig rigtig. Here in front of us we have the Danish flag going in the distance, and that area there is called Battery 60s, and it's still used by the Danish Navy today. Every morning at sunrise and once again at sunset they fire one of these tiny grey cannons that you'll be seeing up on the grass area shortly, and they do that in order to let know to the Danish ships around the harbour here that it's time to either put up or lower the flag. However, sunrise right here at Battery 60s is always 8 o'clock. It doesn't matter when the sun actually rises in the rest of Denmark, it's always 8, and that's because they don't want to disturb the neighbours, including the royal family. Nu har vi så et område, der hedder Battery 60 med det danske flag lige herinde til højre, og det bliver stadig benyttet af den danske flåde i dag. Hver morgen med solopgang og igen med solnedgang affyrer en af de her 2 små brugkanoner, I kan se op. Og det er jo for at fortælle de danske skibe omkring havnen her, nu er der tid for flade op eller sænke det igen. Men solopgang lige her hos Battery 60 er alt på tidspunkt året. Fordi de student here in Copenhagen. Urban Rigger her til højre, som sådan en lille containerby, designet af Bjarke Engels fra Big Architects. Står etværelses lejligheder, man kan leje, hvis man er studerende i København. De har solpaneler på toppen og har masser af shared space nedenunder os. Distance. This is the direct route, swimming all the way. We're actually crossing now the inner harbor slowly, and in a few seconds we'll be arriving at one of the masts. Om havets prinsesse, da hun blev teenager, ville hun så gerne op og se, hvordan livet er her. Så her mødte hun så den her smukke unge prins, som hun blev helt vildt forelsket i. Men desværre så lykkedes det lige at blive gift med ham, fordi han gifte sig med en anden prinsesse. Så måske dem, hun sidder og stikker og ser en eneste om. Jeg tænker, hun sidder her og venter på en anden ny prins, der kommer forbi. No, Mermaid's been sitting on that stone since 1913, so it's a very long time waiting for a new prince. So if we have any single guys on board who might be interested, that would be great. And I don't know if you know, it's actually all thanks to Carlsberg beer that we actually got our Little Mermaid. You know Carlsberg beer? Probably the best beer in the world. That's what they say. You do your best. Thanks. Now over here to your left in the distance you see that big grey building with a tall chimney and smoke coming up. This is our incinerator. This is where we burn our waste here in Copenhagen. We actually burn around 64 tons every hour. We don't produce that much waste, so we have to import waste both from Sweden and the UK and from Germany just to keep the machinery going over there, because it's also a power plant. So we use the energy to heat up private accommodation and also for electricity supply. Now the exterior of the building was designed by Bjarke Engels, and he designed a ski slope that goes from the top of the building and all the way down. So now we can actually go skiing here in Copenhagen every day of the year. We no longer need any snow, which is really quite handy. We never get enough anyway here to go skiing. So if you enjoy skiing, you do that this afternoon. Herovre til venstre har vi den der høje, lidt skæve bygning med den høje skorsten. Hallo. Det er Amager Bakke herovre til venstre, og det er jo her, vi afbrænder vores affald i København. Men hvad der måske er lidt mere sjovt ved, det er, selve bygningen er designet af Bjarke Engels, og han har designet en skibakke, der går hele vejen fra toppen og hele vejen ned, så nu kan man altså stå på ski i København året rundt, hvis man skulle have lyst til det. Probably used by the royal family when they were waiting to go on board the royal yacht. Now today they actually walk down these stairs here and then they're sailed across to the royal yacht. Det kongelige pavillon er lige her til højre, hvor tidligere kongefamilien ventede på at komme ombord på kongeskibet Dannebrog, men i dag kommer de i bil, og så går de ned ad trapperne og bliver sejlet over til Dannebrog. This modern building to your right is the Maersk Mc-Kinney headquarters. You might know them from their container ships around the world. They came to be one of the largest shipping companies of the world. Here we also call the building with the blue eyes. You might also recognize their logo up there, the white 7-point star on the blue background, which indicates that they sail the 7 seas of the world. But if you ask the employees, they like to joke about it because they very often say, no, it's actually because we love to wear it 7 days a week here. They claim to be very, very busy. Så her til højre har vi så Maersk Mc-Kinney hovedkvarter, også kaldet bygning med de blå øjne. Og hvis man kigger lidt nærmere, vil man kunne se, at det faktisk er designet, så det ligner en container. Og vi kender jo deres logo heroppe til højre, som er den der 7-takkede stjerne på en blå baggrund, der betyder, at de sejler de 7 verdenshave. Selvom medarbejderne godt kan lide at sige, at det egentlig er, fordi de elsker at arbejde 7 dage om ugen. Here to your right, we have these like older buildings. The first one is called the West Indian Warehouse, because it's from a period when Denmark used to own 3 islands, and the Caribbean now known as the Virgin Islands. And back then we would import goods of sugar, chocolate, coffee, tobacco, and cotton, and many other very nice things which would have been stored in there. And one of the middle was for goods pulled from Greenland, and the last one was from West Africa, where we also had a colony. Today, the yellow one, the building, and the red one are now exclusive private accommodation. De her pakhus til højre, de er jo fra 1700-tallet. Det er jo fra en periode, hvor Danmark havde kolonier rundt omkring. Den første, den røde, det var fra de vestindiske øer. Den i midten var bare fra Grønland, og den sidste her, det var fra Vestafrika. Speaking of the royals before, we're now running at the Amalienborg Palace here to the right, which is where a royal family live mainly in the winter time. It consists of these four identical mansions. This is where our Queen Margaret II lives, who abdicated in January. And we always know when they're home because then the royal flag is up. So unfortunately none of them are actually home to greet you here today. No chance of being invited in for a drink. Yeah, the dome there, that is an ordinary Lutheran church. It's called the Marble Church, also known as Frederick's Church, named after King Frederick V, that guy on the horse here to the right. And it's got the largest dome here in Scandinavia. Now it's just looking very, very grand because the whole neighborhood called Frederickstown was inspired by France back in the 1700s. Now once it's all finished within a year, there'll be a very nice water house with some lovely indoor pools and some nice restaurants along the harbourfront. Herovre til venstre har vi så papirøen, og det hedder det fordi man i gamle dage opbevarede papirruller til aviserne. Og i dag er man så ved at bygge en eksklusiv privat bolig indtil videre her i København. Og de har allerede fået et nyt navn, de her bygninger. Nu hedder det ikke papirøen, nu hedder det Toblerone-husene. Og når de står færdige inden for det næste års tid, så vil det være et meget fint kulturhus her på hjørnet og nogle gode restauranter her langs havnen. Now shortly we'll be turning left and we'll take you through an area called Christianshavn, which means Christian's Harbour, and that's because back in the 1600s one of our other kings, Christian IV, had travelled down to Amsterdam and he was very much inspired by the canals down there and thought, oh, maybe we should have something similar up here in Copenhagen. Now back then it was to house all his ships and it was also where he invited lots of merchants to live. So that's why as we sail through the canals you notice there are lots of warehouses. Today it's just a very popular area among locals to go enjoy the very nice atmosphere. Nu er vi så på vej ind igennem Christianshavnskanaler. Og de er jo opkaldt efter vores kong Christian den 4., som tilbage i 1600-tallet har været en tur ned i Amsterdam i Holland, og tænkte, sådan noget skal vi selvfølgelig også have her. Han elskede simpelthen alt, hvad der var nederlandsk dengang. Og oprindeligt så var det jo området, som skulle huse alle hans skibe, og han inviterede rigtig mange handelsfolk til at bo i området. Så det er derfor, der er rigtig mange pakhus langs kanalerne. Men i dag er Christianshavn jo bare et rigtig populært område blandt lokale københavnere, og så helt bare nede i en hyggelig atmosfære. Over første. Jeg troede også først, det var privat bolig. Tak.
Ganz wunderbar Cowboy. Das wäre ein Zufall rein, weil es nicht näher. Alle wissen es nicht.
So we are approaching a bridge. Please stay seated, and then vi også en bro. Og når vi lige kommer under broen, kig til venstre, meget, meget fin udsigt til vores frelseskirke. Once we come under the bridge, have a look to your left, beautiful view to our Saviour's Church. And you might want to have your camera ready, because you only got 1 or 2 seconds for the perfect photo. Tak.
No. Oh, I haven't. I'm not with me.
Here in front of us we have the modern extension of our Royal Library, also better known as the Black Diamond, and you actually get to see what I'm talking about. Yeah. because when the sun is shining from a clear blue sky, then the lights reflected, as you see, from the water onto the facade. Especially in spring and autumn, when the sun is a bit lower, then it will be the whole facade which glimmers like these small diamonds. Time is flying, so it's more like 10 years.
Just been finished. Just.
Yes. I think we'll see also when in the event, the captain thinks it was 99, but it's I'll have to look it up for you. I think it's around 10 years. Ja, men ordentligt.
Nej, jeg tror, det er for lige.
Now here in front of us we have that green building which says blocks on the side, and that's a multi-purpose building with penthouse apartments for rent at the top. It's also where we have the Danish Architecture Centre and the Danish Design Shop, where you can go and shop till you drop if you like. And if you're looking for some exercise, then we have the gym in there and some nice cafes. So now we are on our way into the Frederiksholms Canal. This next bridge is also very, very low, so once again important that everyone remains seated. Nu er vi så på vej ind i Frederiksholms Kanal. Igen, vi kan alle blive siddende, det passer godt på hovedet. Og den bygning, vi har her på jeres venstre side, det er blocks, og det er sådan en multifunktionel bygning med penthouse-lejligheder, man kan leje op på toppen. Og så er det også her, vi har et dansk arkitekturcenter og en dansk design shop. Sat har en afdeling, hvis man har lyst til at bevæge sig her lidt senere. Og så har vi her. God udsigt her til havn. Tak. Another low bridge coming up. Copenhagen Boat. This building here to your right is a very great building. It's called the Royal Brewery, and it was built by old King Christian IV back in the 1600s, and the purpose was to supply beer, not only to his naval officers but also to their families, including the children. Because back then they could not drink the water here surrounding Copenhagen, it was simply too polluted. So everyone had to drink beer back then. Just imagine the tough times they would have had, or maybe very, very happy days. Så herinde har vi så det kongelige bryghus, bygget af Christian IV tilbage i 1600-tallet. Formålet var at levere øl til ansatte, men også deres familier, inklusive børnene. Fordi dengang kunne man ikke drikke vand her på København, så alle var nødt til at drikke vand dengang. Hver familie fik faktisk lidt hver evig eneste dag, så sikkert fest, der har været. Now again, more houseboats and screen sail boats here, like this old light boat, right, which used to light up along the Danish coastline, and then the little ferry. Det er blevet meget, meget populært at opkøbe de her gamle skibe, når vi ikke længere har en funktion, og så omdanne dem til privatbolig, som vi ser her. Jeg skal jo det her året, og nu er det rigtig godt isoleret. Another low bridge coming up. Tak. This next bridge is called the Marble Bridge, and it used to be the main entrance to Christiansborg Palace to your right. Om lidt sejler vi under Marmorbroen, som er en tidligere hovedindgang til Christiansborg Slot til højre. And if any of you watch the Danish television series on Netflix called Borgen, you're right to recognize this bridge. It's very often filmed in the series. And if you didn't get to watch it, it's still on Netflix. The next bridge coming up is the most narrow on this tour, so here it's very important. Everyone sitting out to the side, keep your arms and hands and elbows, basically just all body parts inside the boat, and mind your head. Nu skal vi så tage igennem stormbroen. Og her er det vigtigt, at alle holder arme og hænder og albuer indenfor i bunden og passer rigtig godt på hovedet. Tak. Og så skal jeg igennem ind om ikke at røre denne bro. And again, for your own safety, please do not touch this bridge. Yeah, it's called Storm Bridge. And it actually has nothing to do with stormy weather, but it has to do with the Swedish. Because we've been at war against the Swedish so many times. And at one point they actually tried to storm this bridge, or it was a previous bridge, but they did not succeed. If they had succeeded, then I would probably be speaking Swedish today.
Sorry, the talk would be the same. Yeah. And I would have said, we conquered Denmark when we stormed.
Thank you, Sven. It's actually very difficult to go through, so thanks, guys. I know he appreciates it.
Pretty good for your first time.
Yeah, never done that before. So here to your right is past the Christiansborg Palace. Behind the walls here we have the Royal Stables. So if you get up early tomorrow morning, you can actually see the Royal White Horses training there. Hvis I står tidligere op i morgen, og jeg har også her i København, så kan man faktisk herovre til højre bag væggene her se de kongelige hvide heste. De går meget ofte herinde bagved på Christiansborg Slot. Now at the Christiansborg Palace today is where we have our Parliament, the Royal Reception Rooms, and also our Supreme Court. You can actually go up the tower there at Christiansborg and enjoy a lovely view. You can also go inside the Royal Reception Rooms and visit that, and then you'll be walking the same room, same floors as our royal family, because it's also their workplace. Over på Christiansborg Slot i dag, der bor hverken konger eller dronninger. Der er jo der, vi har vores folketing og de kongelige receptionslokaler. Mette Frederiksen har sit kontor der, og det er også her i Højesteret. Og man kan jo faktisk gå op i tårnet på Christiansborg, og så nyde en rigtig fin udsigt ud over København. Og man kan også besøge de kongelige receptionslokaler, og være lidt kongelig for en dag, fordi de blev jo også benyttet af kongefamilien, særligt lejligheder. Now, in front of us there to your left, we have that green man on the green horse. That's Bishop Absalon, who was officially the founder of Copenhagen back in 1167. Her lige fremme til venstre har vi så en grønne mand på den grønne hest. Det er biskop Absalon, som grundlagde København tilbage i 1167. Hi, hello. Tak. Now, once we come under this bridge, we'll be sure you're all nice to zero, because we're now slowly coming back to where you started your tour. Er vi lidt for tidligt på den? Ja, så er vi ved at være lige så langsomt tilbage, hvor vi startede turen her cirka en times tid siden. So while we're waiting for this upper boat to sail off, I would like to thank every one of you for coming with us today. We hope you enjoyed the tour and wish you a lovely rest of the day here in Copenhagen. Rigtig mange tak alle sammen for at komme med. Thank you. Også på vegne af Svend, og vi har vores Svend og kaptajn. Now please remain seated until we're all properly moored. Bliv venlig siddende, indtil vi ligger ordentligt for tøjet her om lidt.
Ja, så då. Ja.